In a speech, while the voice is important, it's not everything. You also have to think about the nonverbal communication, i.e., the body mechanics that go along with the speech. And body mechanics are important, all right? Fun fact, in any communication encounter, nonverbal communication usually accounts for somewhere between 90 to 92% of the meaning somebody takes from that communication encounter. The actual words that you say, only 7, 8%. So, what you need to think about with your body mechanics when giving a speech and how you might need to adapt and change things is an important part of giving an effective speech and is the subject of this video. All right, so with the speaker's body, the body mechanics, it's the other big part of delivery that goes along with the voice. All right. Now, when we're talking about body mechanics, this is something that you're really going to have to pay attention to because a lot of people do lots of things with their body when they talk that they don't realize. Maybe you have like the phantom leg bounce that just keeps going, or you have a tendency to just talk with your hands a lot and you fling all over the place. I'm in that category myself. So, what are some of the things about the body that we need to think about when giving a speech? And what changes might we need to make, or at least things we need to be aware of when trying to put together and practice our speech? Now, we're talking about here the kinesthetic qualities. Okay, kinesthetic means the body movement qualities of the speaker and what we need to think about. And the first one is personal appearance. Look, we can talk all day about whether or not people should or should not judge people based on their appearance. We can have that discussion all day long. But can we agree that people will judge you by personal appearance? Yeah. Okay, let's say you were taking this class face to face and I showed up the first day of class and I walked into the room wearing flip flops, a pair of jeans with holes in them, a belt that was made of rope, a tie-dye t-shirt, a pair of circle blue John Lennon glasses, and a big old Rastafarian hat. What would you think? Yeah, all kinds of crazy things just based on how I looked. So when you are having to give now, when you're having to give a speech in public outside of this class, dress the part, dress professional, because it is something that you can do ahead of time and that you can plan for that will automatically boost your credibility. All right. So dress nice, dress professionally. Again, we can say people shouldn't, but they will. So have good personal appearance when you go to give a speech. Second of all, we need to talk about body movement. Okay. Now, base level good body movement is what I tend to refer to as good command presence. It's being behind your podium, back straight, hands resting on the side, coming up to gesture, looking at the audience, and coming back. What you don't want to be doing is rocking and swaying from side to side or back and forth or pacing all over the place on stage. That's going to get distracting to the audience. So you want to really think about your body movement and try minimally to have that good command presence. Now, if you need to move around, one thing that we would teach, and we teach this in competitive speech, is what we call walking the triangle, which is when you start center and you give your introduction there, and then you take 2, 3, or 4 steps to the left or right, either side works, and give your first main point there. You then walk to the other side and give your next main point from there. And then you walk back center for your third point. And then for your conclusion, you either take 2 steps up or 2 steps back. But when you're in those points, you are standing still, gesturing and so forth, but you're standing still. Okay, that's where you can use the space without being distracted. So minimally watch out for those bobbing and weaving and all that unconscious stuff and try to have that good command presence. Another big thing you want to have in a speech is good gestures. Okay, if you just stand up and talk and don't gesture, you're going to look like a broken robot. Okay, one of those broken, if you ever been to Disney World, they have those animatronic things on the rides, and you ever seen one that's broke and it's talking but it's not moving, you'll look like that. All right, gestures help enhance your message, and so you want to be sure you have good, effective gestures. Now, how can we do that? Well, number one, we need to make sure that when we gesture in a place where it can be seen. Now, when you are giving a face-to-face speech, a good rule of thumb is breastbone high, shoulder width apart. All right? You want to gesture in this area because this is where people can see effectively. If you're gesturing down here, like, can you see what I'm doing? No, because I'm down here. It's not viewable, right? So have your gestures come up, do them in this area where it can be clearly seen. Same is true if you're recording a speech. Remember, if it doesn't happen in the camera frame, it doesn't exist. So if I'm making all these gestures out here and down here and it's not being recorded in the camera frame, well, they might as well not exist. So make sure they can be seen in the frame if you're doing a recorded speech. But what type of gestures can you do? Well, some people naturally tend to talk with their hands. And if you're one of these people, I'm one of these people, we tend to need to calm down a bit because we'll tend to just flail all over the place, all right? So we need to calm down and make sure we're doing things more deliberately. But if you're not somebody that gestures naturally, what can you do? Well, remember we talked about the speaking outline and we talked about in a previous video and we talked about delivery cues. Make sure you put delivery cues on your speaking outline for gestures. And what you can look for are words or phrases that have a naturally accompanying gesture. Okay? Things like my first main point, blah, 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 blah. My second main point, you see, first, second, these are naturally accompany what you say, and they help bring the audience in. Things like it's good for you, it's good for me. Okay, we have to balance these ideas. See, these are all gestures that naturally accompany these words or phrases. Put those delivery cues on your notes, and that'll help you a lot. And then lastly, this brings us to eye contact. Now, y'all, there ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to look at your audience. Eye contact is one of the single biggest measures of credibility an audience has of you. I mean, think about this. Would you buy something from a salesperson who refused to look you in the eye? Chances are probably not. So you need to look at the audience. Now, you might have heard the old adage, just picture your audience naked. Don't do that. No, don't do that. No. Might have some heavy-set old guy like me in the front row, and that just might make you throw up. So don't do that. What you can do is understand at a basic level what you need to have for good eye contact. Here's a little trick, all right? When it comes to eye contact at a basic level, there are 3 primary points of eye contact. These are in a live situation. These are 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 2 o'clock, okay? So if you have a trouble with eye contact, just focus on shifting your gaze from 12, 10 to 2. Or 12, 2 to 10. If you have friends in the audience, have them sit in those areas so you can talk to them. Now, if you don't have friends and looking directly at people is going to freak you out, here's what you can do. Find some areas of dead space in the audience at 12, 10, and 2 and talk to those, all right? Like, the cap of a water bottle or an armrest in a chair or a speck on the wall. Okay, because you can be looking at that speck, but it looks to the audience like you are looking at them, and therefore you can get those benefits. Now, they need to be don't pick stuff up on the ceiling. That's not going to work. It needs to be stuff in the audience, all right? So the simple technique to use there. And when it comes to recording a speech, remember, the camera lens right there, that is your audience. A lot of times I'll have people giving speeches, and they're looking over like this, and they're talking. This is an eye contact. That camera is your eye contact. So make sure you're looking at that camera. So personal appearance, dress for success. I know it's an old phrase, but it works. Have good movement, minimally try for that good command presence. Make sure you include effective gestures that enhance your message, and also practice good eye contact with your audience. Remember, 12, 10, and 2 are good basic points for face-to-face, and the camera lens is where you want to be looking when recording. So these physical attributes of the speaker's body are all things you want to pay attention to and practice when you're giving a speech. Because ultimately, one thing to keep in mind about good delivery when it comes to body mechanics, the point of it is to enhance your message, not distract from it. With that in mind, I wish you a good day.